Resilience and patience is a key to the success which Ryan has experienced, and he's about to share some brilliant wisdom with us on how he's reached his goals. Good morning and welcome to the session, Ryan. How are you?
Oh, very well, Amit. Good to be here.
Pleasure to have you here. Let's go straight into it, Ryan. And how about we kick off by you telling us a bit about your business and the kind of service you provide?
With pleasure. So, Empower is an attempt in a single one-stop shop platform ecosystem to answer the question of, how do we have impact in a measurable, transparent, and effective manner, um, to solve some of the world's most pressing economic, social, governance related issues, especially in the global south. So it's vertically integrated, meaning we bring all aspects of the value chain into one ecosystem. You can think of it a bit like the Uber of social impact. We're capacity building a network of highly trained and disciplined social entrepreneurs to carry out impact programs in a decentralized bottom-up manner. So we're trying to get away from the top-down sort of worldview that we have today with the big international NGOs and work a lot in more, let's say, democratized, decolonized manner with local communities around the world.
Amazing. That sounds like a really interesting and useful cause to um to pursue in life and in business. Now, it sounds like a very giving business. However, it's a business, so profits are important. So, how about we start off by maybe you telling us a bit more about how do you balance being nice and doing good things for the world, and also making sure that the books are balanced and you're also earning a living. I mean, how would you summarize some key advice for business owners that are looking to create a business in a similar arena to yours? And what are the key things they should look out for?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it's a long game, so you don't
Mm,
know what you're going to encounter on the journey of starting a business. Every business is different, and depending on the complexity and the market entry strategy, it can be a very long game. So the biggest advice I can give to new founders is make sure you are personally secure. Um,
mm,
you have a good income stream alongside your startup activities. Don't overcommit. Don't take unnecessary risks. Really be careful in the early stages until you're at that tipping point where your value proposition is validated in the market and you can start to monetize.
mm,
It's all that balancing act of over investing too early and build the wrong thing. So
mm.
it's all about that market research and talking to people and making sure that what you're doing is there's a market for it. It's critical.
That's such an important point. You mentioned several important points. But one I'm going to hang on to is market research. Now more than ever, I'm also tired of that phrase. In innovation and invention is so important. Um, so market research, no doubt, plays a huge part. I mean, how would you advise business owners who are going into business, looking to innovate and create or change things? What are the key principles for research? Where do they start? What do they look at? How can they go about researching something?
Yeah, well, we live in the age of the internet, so there is a lot of free information out there, of course.
Mm,
There's also, we're also living in the age of AI. So a lot of things that might have taken years to do a couple of years ago can now be done in hours or minutes even,
mm,
with AI accelerators, with the caveats that you can't always fully trust the outcome. So you have to kind of benchmark
yeah.
what you're looking at in terms of these sort of automated tools with proper, rigorously done market research, from first principles. So we kind of did both at Empower. We did our own sort of anecdotal, primary research, looking at problems in the NGO and charity sectors and in general. So looking at the usual, the McKinsey reports and kind of pulling out the key sort of problem, solution areas. But then we commissioned our own independent market study. But we got to the point with our value proposition that we had something clear enough to feed a study
Mm.
with, and then we worked with a university team in London basically to do an independent study. There are platforms out there you can plug into, where you can get free resources to do these kind of things. Doesn't have to be unnecessarily expensive.
Mm.
But
So a
also,
very important point you mentioned. You teamed up with universities. I mean, universities are known for doing lots of research, but it may not be something that business owners may instinctively think about. To think, right, if there's a research institute or facility out there, can we be useful in helping them research, but also getting something back as well? It's a very important point you mentioned there. But taking a step forward, so you came into the market with a problem, come up with a solution, and now it's operating and you're fully fledged and running. Um, Talk to us a bit about the journey. Now, before this recording started, we spoke about a very important word, resilience, and how that is so important to push through certain stages of business. But also, you seem to be interested about resilience-based sports like British military training kind of stuff, and also doing triathlons. Um, how would you draw similarities between what you learn and do in your sporting world and how that translates into business when it comes to resilience?
yes, I think I get two things from sport, especially endurance sports, and I've always found, being in that, being in that moment with yourself,
Mm,
where you just got you're basically dealing with yourself and your physical endurance and your mental endurance.
mm,
It trains you to stay, on course, whatever that course is. Uh,
yeah,
and you also get a lot of, it's quite zen, so you get a lot of contemplation time and ability time to reflect and think about things. So I use sport as a way to create space in my day, in my agenda, in my life to solve business problems. So I found the endurance sports particularly good for that. But
mm,
of course, the byproduct of that is, you're sharper, you're more energetic, you're more focused because you're looking after yourself, right? So
absolutely.
it's cool for entrepreneurs and business people to have these things in balance. You can very easily
Mm,
get up in the morning, just log into your laptop and, not move for 15 hours. I've had days like that, and that's very tempting to get pulled into, well, I'm going to solve everything myself with my laptop. No, you got to first create the balance and the conditions in your to create harmony basically within your physical, spiritual well-being.
absolutely. I mean, and we also touched on the fact, and you agreed that sometimes improvements in your personal life in terms of fitness, health, nutrition often translates into better results in your business as well. Talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think, as I say, you're mentally sharper,
Mm,
and I think your hormones are more in balance. You're calmer when you're looking after yourself. You don't get short-tempered. You don't make snap decisions. You're more
mm,
considered and more balanced. So I think that's the key thing for me. Whatever that sport is, could be tennis, could be swimming,
yeah.
but put that at the core of your schedule, and then the business will flourish around that, because just by nature you're in a happier, more healthier state.
Yeah, it's such an important concept, balance. Let's take this word balance and maybe stretch it out a bit more, maybe contradictory, but let's stretch the balance out. The point about balance. In a business, we can probably say there are five core departments. In any and every business, there is the marketing department responsible for generating interest, generating leads. There is a sales department to convert the interest and leads. There is the operations department to maybe deliver the product service. There is a finance department to deal with the invoices, payments, etc. And the final department is the HR department to deal with people, their growth, the challenges that come with it. So every business, if we say it's got five departments, and balance is so important. Um, how might you maybe suggest, propose, or advise solopreneurs out there who probably wear all five hats initially on how to achieve some kind of balance to grow their business?
Yeah, it depends on the scale, again, the scale of what you're doing.
Mm,
I found very early with Empower, it's just too much for me to do as a
mm,
solopreneur. That it's too big, because it's a two-sided marketplace. You have a community. It's very active. It's about 100 people. So that has to be managed. It does depend a bit on the domain, but I would, caution to avoid burnout. The first person I think, or any solopreneur should look to onboard is a good COO,
mm,
because they can take off a lot of the operational burden of dealing with the product and and also when you later then add in the marketing and the sales, it's the COO can kind of manage that onboarding and that acceleration process without
mm.
too much burden on the executive, and the executive really should be out there in the world talking to, getting the word out about what you're doing and being on stage and networking. So, you want to, as quick as you can, get into that sort of chain of growth that,
Mm.
your COO is can run the company without you really, and you're more sort of figurehead.
Makes sense. So kind of achieving balance to getting support to getting
Yeah.
other people to work with you as well.
That's
And
the key. Yeah, it's team building and building a strong team that is, shared mission,
mm,
is on board the business from a values perspective, because not here because there's an just because there's money or an opportunity. Everyone is going to want to be involved in a business because they see that it's viable and
mm.
it's going to lead to some long-term benefit for themselves. But people are typically more in startups. They're more driven by the mission and being attached to the impact that it can have.
So really drawing in the right people through being very passionate and clear about the mission
Yeah.
sounds like something important. Now, looking ahead for the next 12 months, plenty of challenges on the horizon, the economical climate, the political climate, etc. But let's not look at the stuff we can't control, the world around us. But let's take a look at what's in our control and what we can do something about. Looking ahead at your business, what would you say are the top two challenges you feel your business is likely to face over the coming year or so?
It's going to be managing the growth, and not scaling too fast.
Mm.
We're kind of coming to the point where we're coming out of incubation and stealth, about to land our first major project,
Hmm.
which is going to be quite, it's going to be quite newsworthy and it's exciting. What the danger I see with something like Empower is it can become a bit of a victim of its own success, because the reason I've deliberately held this business back as long as I have is because I know the problems we're solving are just so huge,
Hmm.
so global that we'll get inundated with people. Everyone's going to want to come and bring their projects if they see that there's an opportunity to get funding. And so how do we handle that? That sort of barrage of people coming to us and like, oh, me now, my project, my project. So it's going to get hard. It's going to get hard to kind of to be disciplined about what we do and what we don't do in the early stage, because we want to help everybody. Obviously, that's
Yeah.
the purpose of the company, but you can't.
No, you can't. Amazing. So the problem seemed to be all about managing your growth and doing it sustainably, um, which probably applies to most business owners out there to manage your growth, whether accelerating it to as manageable as profitable or slowing it down so you can be there for the long term itself as well.
Putting right foundations that do scale and sustain without blowing up the business model.
Amazing. Sounds great. Well, Ryan, I could spend all day talking to you right now, but unfortunately, I've got to let you go. Thank you very much for sharing some abundant and valuable lessons that you've come across in your business and hopefully a paths across again in the future. You've been marvelous. Thank you very much for your time.
Nice to meet you, and all the best.
Thank you very much.